Mr. Praus, hi. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We are making our interview in very classical Wiener cafe. You chose this place. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your supporting our country, my nation, Ukrainian people. I know that you supported Ukraine before the first war, before the second war, after the second war. And my first question, I ask all the people who attend the interview, what is your feelings were on the 24th of February, where you were, and did you believe that war can start that date precisely, or it was just a joke?
24th of February last year, I was in Kiev
Oh,
at our apartment at Saxaganskogo Street in the center of Kiev. Going back 2 or 3 weeks before that, I was invited by Christina Queen, who was at that time acting ambassador of the US to Ukraine. And she had a lot of other ambassadors, and it was the goodbye party, private party, for her husband Tom, who was told, like all Americans, to leave Ukraine.
yeah, it's
That
true.
was several weeks. It was beginning of February. Nobody, including top ambassadors, British, German, American, believed at that time, and that was a private talk, that there would be a fully fledged war by the Kremlin to Ukraine. So everybody was aware that something will happen, but also my wife, she is Ukrainian, Susanna Chachoyan, soloist of National Opera of Ukraine,
Yeah.
and me, I had been living in Ukraine for 16 years at that time already. We believed that there would be a limited strike against Ukraine, maybe in the east, or maybe trying to establish a land bridge to Crimea. Nobody expected what really happened.
Yeah.
So we were woken up by some very strange and loud sounds at 4-5 o'clock in the morning on 24. And immediately there were phone calls to my wife, especially Ukrainian. War has started, war has started, warplanes around, the rockets flying, etc., etc., etc. So we saw the panic on Saxaganskogo, traffic congestions everywhere, Robka, and
Traffic jam.
traffic jams.
And you saw everything. Yeah.
We saw it, and I told my wife Susanna, no, we will wait and we will see what happens. And we were staying several days in Kiev. When I heard that, for example, the Austrian commercial attaché, she was going by with a diplomatic car to Lviv and later on to Uzhhorod. It took them more than 40 hours to reach Lviv. So we waited for several days. I had several interviews with Austrian ORF, with Servus TV and newspapers, Austrian newspapers, etc. How is the situation in Kiev as one of the well-known Austrians in Ukraine? And only on 27, I think, or 28, we left to Bila Tserkva, where my wife has an uncle. And we stayed there for 2 days. But it also got a little bit dangerous at that time there as well, because the Russians wanted to encircle, to surround Kiev, and Bila Tserkva is very near to Kalinovka, etc. And there is an army base in Bila Tserkva, etc. So we decided better to live there as well. So we went to Western Ukraine, Khmelnytsky, staying one night. Again, an alarm, sleeping on a mattress on the floor in a building. And then we decided, after maybe 10 calls from the Austrian Foreign Ministry, Mr. Praus, please leave Ukraine. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So we decided to leave Ukraine.
Mr. Praus, you retailed a very, very interesting story because you're a foreigner who saw all these things, and all we all saw how the resistance of the Ukrainian soldiers, of the civil society, of the people were huge. Can we say, this is my actually second question, that the level of resistance of Ukrainians during the first hours, weeks of the war changed the public opinion in the European Union about the Ukraine, about the war, and what actually we saw after the 2 months of the war, that Europe became much more pro-Ukrainian. And what happened in your country, in Austria, with public opinion?
You see, Austria in many cases and many aspects is following Germany. This is traditional. It was also already with the German mark, Deutschmark, yeah. Austrian currency shilling was pegged to the German mark. So that means Austria sometimes does not have a real opinion of its own. It's a follower. And this is clear also in economy. We are a small country. We can't be a leader. We have to be a follower. Every economist would tell you that. Good. But resilience, resistance. It was a surprise for me as well. Let me have one sentence on that. When we were going near Ternopil, so already on the slopes of the Carpathian Mountains, there are these wooden churches, going to Stri, going to Lviv, Stri, and there have been stands built by the local population,
by themselves,
where they were donating drinks and food
for the people,
for the travelers, for the refugees. That was for free. I'm not sure whether that would have happened in the 50s of last century in Austria. So I was really, I must say, astonished and deeply impressed. Resilience. You are completely right that the strong resilience and strong resistance, which was not expected by the Europeans, formed the coalition, Western European coalition against the Kremlin, step by step. Take into account German Chancellor Scholz. The first 1 or 2 weeks, he was completely silent, and he was waiting
what will be
when Ukraine will have lost. And only when he saw, and at the beginning it was not so many weapons from the international platform, US, etc. It was their own resilience, their own resistance. When Germany and the other European countries and America saw how resilient, how resistant, how strong Ukrainians are, for me, no real wonder, because Ukraine was building up the whole thing starting 2014, because they knew Putin will come again. The only question was when would he feel to be strong enough? So when this was understood, only then the support started.
Yes, so actually you answered the question. Our resistance changed the public opinion in West in a lot of countries.
To put it in a nutshell, yes.
Yes. So my next question about Austria. I know that it's very difficult to analyze Austria. You have already answered partly on my question that Austria follows a lot of things, a lot of experts, Germany, but but it's also an independent country, and your country helped us a lot with refugees, with supporting humanitarian aid. Your president visited recently Ukraine. So what we can say about the public opinion in Austria? Can we say that it also was some kind of evaluation from neutral to politically not neutral, but still military neutral?
Military neutral is clear. This is our constitution, and this had to be agreed with the Americans, with the Russians, with the British, and the French in 1955, when we received our sovereignty again. So this is Staatsvertrag, and neutrality in the military sense. To answer your question, there has been a lot of help, and there still is a lot of help by the civil society. For example, I'm a Rotarian, and I'm working with the heads of Rotary in Austria for help for donations to Ukraine. This is several million euro.
It's a lot.
Yeah, by Rotary. Yeah. And partly I'm directly involved in that because I'm also the Ukrainian chapter chair of the Intercountry Committee Ukraine-Austria in Rotary. I have several. I have my fingers everywhere somehow. Yeah. So, opinion. Take into account that some 90,000 refugees, 80% mothers with children, are in Austria. They have been taken. There are apartments for them. There is basic social help for them. And meanwhile, the Ukrainians are also permitted to work without a special work permit. So we are completely free on the labor market concerning Ukrainian work. Take into account that for the first several months, Ukrainians could travel free in Austria. Public transport was completely free.
I remember it.
Etc. So this is showing that there is a lot of help, not only from the civil society, but also from the state.
Government level.
Austrian is a small country. Austria as compared to Germany, it's 1/10, people say 10%. We have a package, 500 million euro for help concerning the health sector. Hochmatet, etc., etc., etc. An Austrian company, I don't want to mention the name, but there are some programs as well. On the other hand, I should be, and I am critical, that the help is not so 100% uniform. As you are certainly aware, there is the so-called Freedom Party, led by Mr. Kickel, who enjoy, let's call it, good relations to Moscow, with the respective outcome, impact.
Yeah, understandable.
And on the other hand, please have in mind that Austria has been, for many years, even during the Cold War, the hub, the intermediary country between East and West. So that means there are old and ingrained relations to Russia. Not to forget about the exceptional dependency of Austria from Russia in terms of gas. Up to 70-80% of gas is still procured from Russia. And this is creating a stronger feeling in favor of Russia, stronger than should be the case from a neutral perspective, and of course than should be the case in my humble but very strong opinion.
Thanks for your. I actually wanted to ask you about examples of support of Austrians, but you very, very professionally, diplomatically hinted and indicated this kind of help, because a lot of people in Austria, they don't want to show publicly that they help, but
there's a lot of help.
It's a lot of yes, you're absolutely right.
And may I give you an example? As co-chair of the Intercountry Committee Ukraine Austria, I'm organizing a summer camp for 50 Ukrainian youth, 11 to 14, in the country of Salzburg, which subsidized, 50% of the cost is subsidized by the Ministry of Sports. And so this is one of my activities.
It's a lot.
To dim, to lower, to limit the trauma of the Ukrainian children or young young youth, so to say, by staying 2 weeks in beautiful country of Salzburg in Austria, with a lot of sports, where they can work on their trauma, yeah, with a lot of body efforts.
Thanks for such kind of help. I really I think all Ukrainians appreciate your help, and I sincerely thank you for your help. And my last question would be maybe to some extent political. However, I want to ask you about the future, because I know it's difficult to speak now about the future. We don't know the results, what will be tomorrow and after tomorrow, but we are absolutely, you and I, sure in the Ukrainian victory. So, what you see if we speak about integration of Ukraine with European Union, between Austrian and Ukrainian society, these bridges, because you are a bridge between Ukraine and Austria. You have association, Austrian-Ukrainian association, which worked many years. So how you can combine all these things and speak about the future? What the role of Ukraine in the future European map you see as a public figure, as experienced man?
After Yanukovych, there has been the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement between Ukraine and the European Union, and there has been a contract with an additional general political contract with the European Union. Meanwhile, Ukraine has a candidate perspective concerning the European Union. I'm well aware that European Union is not optimal, is not perfect. There are internal problems and this and that. It's still how many? 27 members, and to have unanimous votes
Still complicated.
is much more complicated in everybody with 28 members rather than in the past, when at the beginning I think it was 10 members. It's getting more and more difficult.
Yeah.
And especially with a certain Mr. Putin, who is trying to undermine subversively, the unity within the European Union, as we all know. But in my view, the future of Ukraine is European Union. And I'm absolutely convinced that also the United States, who give at least equal help as Europe is giving, I think even more help than Europe is giving, especially in the military field. This is a geopolitical war, partly from the United States, talking about the war, in order to weaken Russia. When this is over, the interest of the United States in Ukraine will be a little bit less, because mission completed, mission achieved. So that means it will fall more into the competence of Europe to build up Ukraine. But if I were an Ukrainian politician, I'm a humble private person, maybe with some experience, so maybe not a real nobody, but I'm not a statesman, so to say. I would first, if I were Ukrainian politician, I would first seek to create a very favorable position to win whatever means victory. And I'm talking as a Western European, whatever means victory. There may be big discussions still, and I think there will be big discussions if the victory will not be 100% as demanded, as requested, as announced by President Zelensky. But first, have a victory, whatever means victory, and then the unity concerning the European Union towards Ukraine will be stronger again, because these subversive actions by Mr. Putin, if he is still alive, will be weakened. And some of the voices who are now speaking pro-Kremlin will be tacit. Yeah. So it will be better later on. So European Union,
yes.
America is a different continent.
Yeah.
There has always been, since the sovereignty of Ukraine, a positive relation with the United States. Now the United States are indispensable in order for Ukraine to win. And they will be and will stay friends, but it will be more, and it will have to be more the role of Western Europe to build Ukraine up, and to integrate Ukraine as in many years to come. It will not be within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
It may take 10, 15, 20 years until Ukraine will become a member of the European Union. Look to the Balkan countries. Some have been waiting 15 years.
Yeah, waiting.
So this is not an issue short term or medium term. It will be a long term issue. But this is European Union. This is Western Europe. And I do hope that it will also be NATO, because this is necessary for Ukraine to enjoy the indispensable guarantees concerning security and safety.
Thank you. Thank you for your pro-Ukrainian objective forecast.
Thank you very much. I hope I was able to give some ideas.
Thank you.
And I'm ready to continue
Thank
my
you.
support.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much.